Good evening, everyone. Grateful to have the opportunity to be with you all tonight and catch you on this topic soon after tax day before your excitement over funding your government begins to fade a little bit. So why would anyone want to talk about taxes? Well, let's dive in. So as Missy mentioned, for 20 years I've worked with nonprofit groups advancing this idea through getting involved in helping make your community better and by supporting local entrepreneurs rather than absentee-owned corporations. And our tax policy impacts both of these channels of activity in important ways. So the American Independent Business Alliance is a nonprofit network of 85 community groups across 35 states supporting homegrown businesses. And we hope someone in Montana will fill that void someday soon. So tax subsidies and loopholes favoring large corporations are a big obstacle. Changing tax policy is important to our mission. Tonight, I hope to provoke you to consider some of the less visible ways our tax policy impedes or even opposes some of our widely shared goals, such as cohesive communities, protecting farms and open space, and maintaining a solid number of living wage jobs. Unfortunately, our tax incentives often encourage actions by both individuals and businesses that undermine those preferences. They often subsidize long-distance transport of imports over local goods, displacement of workers with machines, or wasteful use of our land and natural resources. It seems many people I talk to feel we're losing qualities that have drawn us or kept us in the Gallatin Valley. While some factors like the sheer number of people moving here are beyond our control, others, like tax policy, are a driving force. And we should be asking, does this make sense? Well, not much, I'd say. Our debates over taxes tend to focus on who pays and how much. And these are important questions. But we also should ask, what do people or businesses do as a result of any tax or a tax break? Let's look at property taxes, for example. Locally owned shops and restaurants typically choose to locate in downtowns or streets where we can safely walk or bike, while chains gravitate toward areas built for automobiles rather than human beings. Cheap land for bigger stores and parking lots matter more to chains than locals, but our tax policy also drives location and design decisions. So let's look first at the co-op, a compact, two-story development that integrates into its neighborhood. It's inviting to visit on foot or bike as well as by car. It pays more than $20,000 in annual property tax. For comparison, I use Costco rather than a bigger store like Walmart because I don't want you to focus on bad corporations or behavior. It's our tax policies and planning laws that not only permit but subsidize this kind of wasteful use of land. So we end up with Costco paying just 1/6 as much tax per acre as the co-op. And companies wouldn't pave over acres of land that literally serves no purpose if we had sensible requirements for shared parking or if tax rates covered the public costs of this infrastructure. Instead of encouraging quality buildings and efficient use of valuable land, we're rewarding wasteful development and disposable buildings with lower tax rates. We need to change state law to fully fix this problem, but there are effective tools we can employ if people engage locally. And these incentives don't just harm communities, they cost us money, a lot of it. Big box stores were found to cost taxpayers more than $400 per square foot annually when researchers compared taxes they paid to the public services required to service them. Finally, this tan mixed-use building in downtown Bozeman sits on a fraction of an acre. It generates 70% more property tax revenue than Costco in its 13 acres. So if we want lower taxes or more public services or open space, this kind of high-value development should be what our taxes encourage, and not just on our main streets. Next, let's look at how taxes impact jobs and salaries. So whenever a business decides to hire someone or chooses to give an employee a raise, they also pay more taxes. They pay workers' comp, Social Security, Medicare, and others for each employee, and when a business offers a raise, those taxes increase. But if a logging company replaces 20 lumber workers with a $1 million machine, federal tax write-offs reduce that business's cost by more than a third. While this isn't necessarily bad, we should ask why our taxes subsidize computers and machinery, often coming from overseas, but discourage employment. So next time you're getting frustrated with a chain store coercing you to do a cashier's job at no charge, just remember your taxes are also paying for them to do it. These tax incentives might be a good thing to scrutinize before driverless vehicles become widely deployed, potentially displacing about 9 million jobs. Finally, I want to touch on the hidden taxes that we pay to subsidize roads and free or underpriced parking. So I was inspired to work this in pretty late when I learned of the new proposal to expand Kagi Boulevard to anywhere from 3 to 5 lanes, without a whole lot of public discussion about ways to lower demand by reducing driving or parking subsidies. Now, gas taxes in Montana and the nation as a whole haven't been adjusted for inflation for 22 years now, so vehicles pay less than half the public costs they generate. Even at MSU, where parking permits are required, the cost is still heavily subsidized. An upcoming study shows a huge portion of MSU parking permits are bought by people who live within 2 miles of campus. So many could walk, bike, carpool, or take the bus, and many of them would if we had market pricing for parking. But for parking, driving, bus ridership, or any service, subsidies drive up usage. So this is one of my favorites here. Love that. Widening a road attracts more cars within weeks, adding even more congestion to adjoining streets. Sure, we'll be promised nice bike lanes and sidewalks on Kagi, but you've all seen Huffine Lane and North 19th and recognize the truth. Roads built to move high volumes of traffic are inherently hostile to biking or walking. Yeah. So you may have the sense that I hope to inspire some of you to action. So if tax shifting grabs your interest, I've got some great resources compiled and even a website domain waiting for you. You know, Bozeman is growing fast, but it's still a small enough city where one caring person can make a big difference. So there's a public hearing on the Kagi Boulevard project tomorrow night, starting at 5:30 with a 4:30 open house at the University Stadium Club. So if that project concerns you, please take part. I'm happy to forward details to anyone who gets in touch. And also, the city website now hosts a cool mapping tool that allows you to make specific comments on any street or intersection on the city online on the website. So thank you all, and hope you turn out and get involved.